Yo, what's good? It's Mastermind MMA, and I'm sure you guys know by now. DC came out and he released a statement on Instagram about his loss to John, and and in this video, I want to talk about how I feel about DC and put a whole bow on that shit because it's not like I'll just get right into it, dude. So yeah, I mean, just to touch on the statement he put out. He was saying how, just bigged up John Jones and the team and apologized to Big John McCarthy and thanked him for giving him an opportunity to fight out of it and all that. And was very gracious and respectful, and it was cool. So how I feel about DC. So before the whole fight, I thought DC, and I touched on this a little bit with Jamari in the recap, but I didn't really get to fully, really talk about DC and my feelings coming forward after all that. So here it is. So beforehand, I thought DC was just like, he knew that John was better than him, and he just knew in order to make the most money, that he would have to fight John. So he was just talking the shit he had to talk to convince himself. But the way he came out fighting, he actually thought he could beat John Jones. So he was coming out very confident. So I was surprised by that. And actually, watching it the first time live and watching it the second time, he did very well. That I'm not taking anything away from him. But in the first time, because I wasn't expecting him to come out like that, I was like, oh shit. So like everything he was throwing looked better. But at the second watch, I was like, you know what? It's good shots, but it's nothing extremely substantial. It's just some good shots landed. But John Jones was he was more in it for the long run, and he was playing chess while DC was playing checkers, because DC was just kind of aiming for headshots, like just straight headhunting, and John Jones was like, you know what? I'm gonna invest in eating away at the body, eating away at his legs. And on top of that, it's also integrated into my game plan of being able to take him out with my left head kick, because when he's throwing that teep kick to the body, when he's throwing that like oblique teep kick to the knee, that's all starting from the same way. It's essentially coming up from you to the center line. And another thing about throwing that teep kick, like no matter what you do, throwing that straight kick, your head is always going to come down on the center line. So he could really come forward in a linear fashion. So and the thing is, they all start the same. It just, when it lands, it could land at 3 different levels at all the different ranges. So he could hit you with that head kick, that body kick, that leg kick. But when it's coming at you, it all looks exactly the same. So you don't know where it is. You just have to fucking kind of guess where to put your hands to try and minimize the damage. And throwing that shit so often and throwing it so much like a jab, in a sense that it's establishing the distance with each strike without really putting yourself in like much jeopardy. You know what I mean? Like, unless the only real problem that he could face by doing that is when he's coming down on the teep kick and he gets hit with a counter, because his head would be coming down on the center line. But if Daniel or whoever his opponent isn't timing that shot exactly at the moment where he's coming down before he could actually move his head, that's like, we're talking like fucking tenths of a second. So, it's like that, the chance of everything, you know what I'm saying? So, but DC still was doing good. He was landing that that double left hook a lot. Is that kind of where it's almost like he's only really throwing it from his elbow joint down. You know what I mean? Just like that way, the way he just doubles up on it. And he was winging that overhand, and he caught it a few times, but nothing like crazy. Like he never caught an overhand like he caught Rumble with in their second fight. You know what I mean? So He landed a few good shots. Johnny outstruck him the whole time, but just the way that he didn't wanna just hold and hump him, the fact that he was willing to stand in the pocket and trade and dirty box and shit like that, and just really he was there to fight. It wasn't the DC that's like, I'm gonna hang on to you for my dear life. It was the DC that was there to fight. So I respect that. I could respect that at the moment when we expect him to fight that way, he came through. You know what I mean? The second Rumble fight, in all honesty, AJ did that. AJ put him in that situation. You know what I mean? There were moments where Daniel was standing with him, but AJ put DC in that situation and almost kind of gave up his back to DC. So, there's that. And then Anderson Silva, that's a bit inexcusable. But not even to go back there, but even his Gus fight was a good fight where he showed up to fight. So, DC, just for coming out that way, really trying to back up the shit he was talking, I could respect that. He wasn't just talking all that shit and then just tried to control and get the W. No, he was out there to throw. So I could definitely respect that. He looked good. It looked like the best DC we've seen in fucking years. It looked a bit like fucking the DC that fought Josh Barnett in Strikeforce to win the Strikeforce Grand Prix title. And at that point, I had nothing against DC. You know what I mean? DC was just he was a decent fighter. But the thing is about DC's career, the way it always is, it's just decorated with fucking asterisks throughout all the great moments in his career. And I mean, that's where I kind of feel for the guy. Because, all right, I'm about to break this shit down quick. So I'm pretty sure, I don't have the exact statistics up in front of me, but off the top of my head, from what I remember, I'm pretty sure he didn't make weight at NCAA. And I'm pretty sure he missed weight at the Olympics. And in Strikeforce, the way he won the Grand Prix belt was because people were Overeem got injured. And then he was a fill-in for Overeem. And, the UFC belt, when he lost to John, the next fight for the belt he won it. So then it was like, all right, you just lost to the guy, so we know that you're not the guy because we just saw you lose to him. And then that whole run of his title defenses, everyone, including myself, I'm not trying to distance myself from this at all. People like me were telling him that he's not the real champ because he needs to beat John Jones. He's just the interim champ. He's just the paper champ. And if his way to really unify that belt that he had was to beat John Jones. And I think he knew that too. I really think that's why that emotion hit him so hard. Because as soon as he won the belt from Rumble, he was like, you know what? Out of respect for his performance, I'm not going to do the impression this time. But he's like, you know what? Like, I was here before you guys crying at that press conference with John, and now I'm sitting here before you with the belt. I'm happy. When you look at history, it's going to say Daniel Cormier, UFC champion. I'm good. I was like, but at that moment, he knew when he lost to John the second time that, that's for his legacy. He said it. He's definitely said it. I got to give him that credit. He's admitted it. He said he needs that fight with John. So I could respect that. And You know what? Really, really, really what turned me so much against DC, and I get like all shit talks fair game, but everyone's trying to get all this pity for DC and that meme and that thumbnail, and it's like no one said that when Ronda was getting head kicked in the dome piece. No one said that when Rashad's fucking left eye was going down past his fucking eyelids, like when he got knocked out by Machida. No one was saying that when, fucking McGregor got tapped out by Nate. No one was saying that when so many MMA memes were born at moments like that. And I get it was a very vulnerable moment. No one said anything when the John Jones USADA press conference became the motherfucking... It became the MMA Michael Jordan crying face. Nobody was saying anything about those moments, which for each of those individuals, it was a dark place for their lives. And no one was really coming to bringing up those points at that moment in time. And on top of all of that, DC, he was talking a gang of shit, dude. Like, he was digging in and touching every single fucking nerve of John Jones that he could. Imagine you're in the public light, you fucked up, you're trying to get your image over that, and part of this month stretch is just this motherfucker doing nothing but reminding the public of the shit you did when you're trying to get past it. And I'm just bringing this all up. You can be like, oh, but he did it to himself. But I'm saying I'm bringing all this up since everyone wants to all of a sudden get into the place of Daniel Cormier and be like, come on, guys, imagine if this was us. So if we're going to play the imagine if this was us perspective, let's look at it fairly. Let's look at it objectively. Let's not be only subjective for Daniel Cormier. Let's look at this shit all around. When Daniel Cormier was calling him a junkie, when Daniel Cormier was talking about his brother, Arthur Jones, saying, I'll fuck up your brother, I'll fuck up his fat ass too, dissing John Jones' personal family, talking about don't say shit about my kids, when all he said to him was, what are you gonna do when you tell your kids that you had the belt? How'd you have a belt when you never beat the guy and you lost him twice? What are they gonna say after you lose to me again? And he's, don't say shit about my kids, John. And then he threw the water bottle at his face. When he crossed the line, honestly, when he talked to Arthur, dude, like, and they were getting into shit with, like, Daniel's camp and Arthur got into, like, some shit. That's just crossing the line, bro. And then Daniel taking that shit to the media in public and publicly dissing John Jones' family member. Now you want to start crying. And I didn't even come to make this video to come at it in this position. But you really have to be fair. Because you did come that hard. And if you really didn't come that hard, people wouldn't come back hard at you after you lose. That's just the way it goes, man. Because if you're going at it at that aspect, that momentum's going to carry out with you at the end of it and follow through. Because you put that out there to the public, knowing that this was a possibility. Granted, if you were to win, everything you would have said could have been justified. Not justified, it's still crossing the line, but you wouldn't have to face that embarrassment. There's the chance of that, but there's also the risk of this. So I feel for the guy in the moment, but then it's like you have to have tougher skin if you're coming at it at that aspect. If you're coming in that arena with that energy, you gotta be able to face the music when it happens. And again, I point to Dominic Cruz, because Dominic Cruz could have broke down in tears, knowing that he didn't, his both his feet were ripped apart. He didn't want to pull out, and now that he got, in that performance, there are moments that are gonna be playing, and it's gonna suck to see that. And he's facing that. He's having all those moments, losing the belt, and he faced the music. So coming to just the whole thing, man, I respect him more coming out of it. I do feel for him for losing, but I'm not gonna totally switch up like sides and be like, I'm gonna look at his resume more with a Twilight and more with a starry-eyed filter in retrospect, because of the way he came out against John Jones, and he did go out on his shield. I could respect the fuck out of that. And then I could even respect him for wearing his heart on his sleeve. Just crying in the octagon, just being okay with being vulnerable like that. I could respect that. But when, it's just like, I'm not going to either, and I'm not going to like go as far to be as disrespectful or anything like that, but it's just like what happens in the fight game. You know what I'm saying? Like, you were talking shit, you kind of got to face the music and face what people got to say, and you got to face the memes, especially this day and age, dude. Ronda got fucked up by Amanda Nunes after being memed the fuck out after losing to Holly, just to get memed out even worse. So no one was really bringing this pity up about those people. And, it's like I get it. I respect DC more, but if we're going to be this way about DC, we have to be this way about everyone. My whole point in putting it just like really simply is because that's just it, dude. Just treat everyone that way if this is the way it's going to be. I think I've said enough on this. You already know. It's Mastermind MMA.